We left off last video talking about the tricky topic of delegates and protocols. This video is going to be a bit easier and shorter. So let's dive in because we're going to talk about our persistence manager and our favorites list VC. So starting with the persistence manager, let's go to managers, persistence. First things first, I had a typo. You can see here, persistence. Okay, I was missing an S. So, and this is like attention to detail stuff, like quick rant here. Attention to detail is a very important thing as a programmer, right? Because as we know, one small typo, one line of code that's slightly in the wrong spot can break everything or cause a lot of bugs. So attention to detail is very, very valuable as a developer, and especially when you're turning in a project to be assessed, right? That's the whole point of this course, right? Is, you know, you're going to turn in a project, somebody's going to assess your code and see if they want to send you on to the next round of the interview. Well, if you have commented code everywhere, your code base is sloppy, your attention to detail sucks, that's not going to be a good look. However, if you turn in a code base where, you know, everything's on point, everything's lined up nicely, you can tell you put care into the attention to detail, that's a good look. That's what you want to showcase. Anyway, rant over. So things like that, things like fixing the typo, big deal here. So do a Command B, and if I click on my errors, I can go to every place where I need to add my S to persistence. Click there. Nope, not there. Persistence. Okay, now do a Command B. All of our errors should go away. And cool. Back to the persistence manager. So if you remember the bug I had, if you remember this retrieved favorites bug back when we did our persistence manager video, if you remember, like I was trying to add a favorite here. I was appending the favorite to my favorites array right here, and that just wasn't working out. So, and mistakenly, I was like, yeah, let's create a new retrieve favorites variable so it's mutable, because this is going to be constant and I can't mutate it, like I can't add or remove. And that caused that bug. Well, turns out you can just make this a var instead of a let and get the same behaviors here. So we can delete this whole retrieved favorites array that we created because, you know, thought we needed a mutable array. So let's copy favorites here, and then everywhere there's retrieve favorites, paste it in. I know there's a replace all in scope shortcut. I'm just in the habit of doing it like that. So now we've gotten rid of that retrieve favorites array. We just got favorites, and we got rid of that unnecessary code. And getting rid of unnecessary code is a big deal because unnecessary code can lead to bugs, which is exactly what happened in this case. And that's it for our persistence manager. Let's go to our favorites list VC, and we're going to talk about our table view and ways we can optimize this. So actually, let me run this so you can see what I'm talking about. This is just a small adjustment, personal preference that I like, how my table views to look. So if I go to favorites here, you can see, right, my table view has all these extra cells at the bottom and they're blank. Well, there's a quick and easy way to basically get rid of those extra cells so you only have 2 cells, and that's what we're going to do. And we're going to implement that into an extension of UITableView. Reason being is because this is something I carry from project to project, right? Because table views are so common and I want to do this all the time. So I want to share this extension with you so you have it, so you can maybe potentially do that as well. So new Swift file. We're going to call this our UITableView. Is that a capital I? Yeah. View plus ext. Create that. And we need UIKit here. UIKit and extension UITableView. Cool. And we're going to create the function called func remove. I'm looking for autocomplete. I'm creating a new function. Remove excess cells. And so what we're going to do basically is make the footer of our table view just a blank UI view. So you can do table footer view equals UI view, initialize that with a frame of just .0. And we've been doing that before. So now do a Command B to make sure we get it. So now if I go back to the favorites list VC, and here where we're configuring our table view, here if I just do table view.remove excess cells now, and now if I run it, you'll see, hopefully it shows up. These cells are kind of faint. But now you can see we have just 2 cells at the top, and then the bottom of the table view is just nice and clean, just blank. I like that style. Maybe you like having the empty cells. Up to you. But this is an extension that I use in like every project because I always want to call tableview.remove excess cells just to get rid of it. And the other thing I always have in this extension, we're actually not going to use it in this project, but again, it's so common that I think, a lot of you may get some use out of it. So, right, anytime you make a network call in a table view, right, you always have to dispatch to the main queue to do tableview.reload data, right? That's a very, very common thing. Maybe you've done that quite a bit. And we actually do that here in our favorites list VC. right? Once we get our favorites, we have to dispatch to the main queue and reload our data. More on that in a second of why we're not actually going to use this. So what I like to have here, and again, this is just purely extra, we're not using this, is func reload reload data on main thread. And here I just do dispatch queue.main.async, and then I do self.reload data. And I'm going to make this one line because it's super simple, straightforward. So let me show you how I would use this here. Back to our favorites list VC. Like let's pretend this didn't exist, right? I didn't have to do all that. So here, if I got favorites, I would just call self.tableview.reload load data on main. I didn't get the autocomplete. Command B. Forgot to do my Command B to make sure I got it. So, and then I wouldn't have to dispatch queue main.async. I wouldn't have to do that there. I would just call self.tableview, reload data on main thread, and we're good to go. The reason we're not using it here is because, as you see, like we're doing other stuff on the main thread with this bring sub view to front. So let's uncomment that. That's why we just can't use this one line, because we're doing other stuff in the dispatch on the main thread. So, but like I said, that extension here, this UITableView extension, I bring this into every project. I use this function all the time, and I use this on all my table views. So hopefully you can get some use out of it too. Now, the final bug that we're going to fix, or potential bug, I should say, on our favorites list VC. If you scroll down to the bottom here, this is in our swipe to delete. So actually, let me bring back up the simulator here, right? If I swipe to delete, ooh, I didn't mean to do that, but hey, I guess I'm gone. It's fine. But so that swipe to delete, what happens here? This is the code that runs when we do swipe to delete. Well, if you notice, we're updating our UI in our favorites array that's actually on the view controller before we do our persistence manager stuff. So let's kind of walk through this and talk about what's going to happen. Well, if this persistence manager, you see, it has the possibility to send back an error and say like unable to remove, right? Like if our data doesn't get decoded properly and it gets all messed up. Well, the way we have it set up now is our favorites array in our UI is already going to update. But if persistence manager gets an error, the array and persistence manager didn't update. So now our UI and favorites array is out of sync with what's actually in the persistence manager. And that's not good. So the way we can fix that is to move our UI updating stuff into the persistence manager upon a successful update of the array. So here we can do that here in this guard statement. You see guard let error equals error. So basically what this is saying is like, hey, if I have an error, continue. If I don't have an error, then we go into this block that has the return in it. So this is where, basically, this is where everything went fine. So this is where we're going to want to bring down this code here. So Command X, Command V, and I know I'm going to need self dot for the favorites, Command B. So now if I don't have an error, now we're going to remove the favorite from the array, and then we're going to update our table view, the UI of our table view. And we're only doing that when we know we've had a successful persistence manager task. So that's going to solve that problem. And then here real quick, we're just, initializing this favorite and then passing the favorite right here, just to get rid of this line of code. I'm going to do, replace that with that. And then that'll just clean this up a little bit here. So that was kind of one potential bug that we had that we've now fixed. And that wraps up kind of the optimization and the fixing of the favorites list VC. I told you this was going to be short. Now, if you remember last video, I said we were going to update the user info screen on the iPhone 5 because remember how bad that looked? Well, I looked into that before making this video, and it's going to be a pain. And that's typical for the iPhone SE. So we're going to do it, but that deserves its own video, and we're going to get into that next.